Shout out to Casper for sponsoring this update.
If your mattress is super gross, Casper can save you.
You can buy online, get free delivery and returns to the US or Canada, and 100 days to return it.
God, that is so awesome.
That's a lot
Get
of
$50 towards your mattress purchase when you visit casper.com/theknow and use promo code THEKNOW.
Welcome to The Know. I'm Ashley Jenkins.
I'm Tim Gettys from Kinda Funny.
Yeah, you are. Not super funny, but kind of funny.
It's accurate.
Speaking of kind of funny, No Man's Sky is finally out on PC and PS4, but over the weekend, evidence emerged that Hello Games may be warping the game to a brand new platform, Xbox One.
They might want to fix the PC version first.
Yes, please.
The possibility of an Xbox One release comes from some interesting clues buried within the game's data mined files, plus a brand new interview with developer Sean Murray.
So over the weekend, NeoGAF user Dragonbane, great name, posted a huge dump of screenshots and info that came from a data mine of No Man's Sky's Steam build.
Like any data mining, there's a whole lot of stuff that might be useless scrap or potential secrets gamers have yet to find. Just in case, we're going to tag this with a slight spoiler warning in case some of the stuff we talk about here falls in the latter category.
If you can even spoil this
Yeah,
game, it doesn't
more of
even
an experience.
Story. It is an experience, not a story. A few of the interesting tidbits include the fact that the systems in the opening crawl of space aren't systems discovered by players. They're all in a set plain text list.
The data mining also uncovered a folder and trigger assets, which proves that the E3 2015 demo was all scripted. It shouldn't be a surprise that a game dev used smoke and mirrors at E3, but it's sort of a bummer to see that being the case for this game.
Right, this was supposed to be like the Holy Grail, the one to
you
save
just
us
kind of
all.
Do whatever you want.
The hero that we need. But it turns out that, it's E3 and nothing is real.
Nothing's real.
There
Your
are-
hopes and dreams are lies.
Everything. If you're lucky, it's not a Watch Dogs. There are also some screenshots of a character that many are speculating may actually be the player model that none of us can see because we can't find other players. The asset is labeled astronaut and has body and helmet textures associated with the model.
However, it's also riding a unicycle. So it's possible this isn't the player at all, but some test or Easter egg, unless we're all riding unicycles throughout space, which would be awesome.
It's how you really get around.
Yes.
So that's all well and good, but the really curious thing that players found and have kind of grabbed onto was a reference to the game's Havoc license.
Havoc, if you don't know, is one of the industry's leading physics engines. It's used in a number of high-profile games like Dark Souls, Assassin's Creed, Halo, Far Cry, and Call of Duty. Most of
Destiny.
the big ones. Yeah.
Yeah. So they didn't have to create their own physics engines, developers. Instead, license it from someone like Havoc for a flat fee, and then they start building their game with it.
And according to the No Man's Sky files, they also have a Havoc license to develop the game for Xbox One, in addition to PS4 and PC.
Now, on the heels of that discovery comes an odd interview with No Man's Sky creator Sean Murray. The Daily Star spoke with Murray recently and got a strange answer when they asked him if the game was ever coming to Xbox One.
The Daily Star wrote in response, Murray told us he wasn't sure what he was actually allowed to say at the time, noting that he needed to be very specific with my words. Before going any further though, Sony's rep stepped in to move the interview along, explaining that at this time there was nothing more to add.
Now, each of these things on its own might not be enough to get those rumor hyperdrives going, but together they actually kind of paint an interesting picture.
For starters, developers don't typically license out software for platforms they don't intend to actually use. The Havoc license runs around $25,000, a significant chunk of change for a small indie like Hello Games.
Yeah, they probably purchased that early on in the game's development, so it's entirely possible that Hello Games paid for the license well before Sony stepped in, and Sony might have compensated them for the loss of funds there on the front end with whatever deal they put in place, which has been a lot since they've been on talk shows and stuff.
Yes, that would make a lot of sense. While some would say that Sony's deal excludes Hello Games from publishing the game with Microsoft, that might not be true either. Sony didn't publish No Man's Sky for Hello Games, they were merely the game's physical distributor. Hello Games self-published the game on both PC and PS4, so that would mean it's possible that this is a timed exclusive.
The same thing recently happened with Inside, which was developed and published by Playdead. It got an initial Xbox One release and then a very quick surprise release on the PS4, which is in, just a week or two, I think.
Oh man, I love Inside
So good.
much.
So
However,
weird.
it's also worth noting that there were folders listed in the game's data files for both PS3 and Xbox 360, and it's highly unlikely it's ever coming out on those platforms. It could be just as unlikely that's the same case for the Xbox One.
Still, the Daily Star interview is interesting at the very least, especially in conjunction with the licensing for Xbox One. It's one thing to say, we'll see, or dodge the question, but this sounded very much like a legal issue for Murray, and one that he wanted to tread very carefully on. You don't want to say something he's not allowed without, but it wasn't no.
Yeah,
either.
no, he definitely wants to avoid the legal stuff. Although, who knows? Maybe he's just being careful with his words after all the shit he's gotten in the last week about seemingly, the lack of multiplayer.
Yo. And unfortunately for him, the data mining seems to support that there are no assets for the game's files that point to any sort of multiplayer features. Damn you,
Seems to
Murray.
be No multiplayer code, no unused models, no test interfaces, and no folder for scrap multiplayer tests either. Plus, video game screenshotter Dead End Thrills show that the game doesn't render the player's ship, meaning it might not be possible to render another player's ship, and I'm really excited that video game screenshotter is a thing that exists.
But none of the anger over lack of multiplayer or the game's busted PC launches seem to slow it down much in terms of sales, so he's laughing all the way to the bank like, woohoo! Despite a mixed rating on Steam with more than 15,000 negative reviews and many more thousand reporting that the game is barely playable. I mean, you guys saw our experience on our stream last week. No Man's Sky has become the biggest PC launch of the year so far.
Over the weekend, No Man's Sky hit a peak of 212,000 concurrent players, which is almost double the number of players any PC game has ever had at launch. The biggest PC launches before No Man's Sky. Yes. The biggest PC launches before No Man's Sky were XCOM 2 and Dark Souls 3, which only hit a concurrent number of 133K and 129K respectively.
Obviously, it's hard to determine sales from concurrent players. They're not apples and apples. But Skyrim had around 280,000 concurrent players during its launch week in 2011, which ended up translating to 3.5 million sales in its first 2 days. Won't be surprising if we hear something in a similar ballpark for No Man's Sky on PC.
And according to Sony,
for an indie game, that's amazing.
No, exactly.
And it is an indie game.
It is an indie game, despite people getting marketing it in a different way.
Right, absolutely.
According to Sony, the PS4 launch has been just as successful. The company sent out word in the UK this morning that No Man's Sky is the PS4's second biggest launch in that country ever, as well as Sony's biggest new IP launch ever.
Considering that's huge. But I mean, we've all been looking forward to this game for years, so
the hype is real.
It's surprising, but it's not that surprising, considering just how many people are playing the game and problems and all. It should really be no surprise that Xbox One gamers have been asking after it, itching to get it on their consoles as well, but we'll have to see if that ends up being the case. If you do get it, guys, Xbox players, just give us a thank you for playing it when it was broken, getting all that shit fixed, because it'll be fixed by the time you get to it.
I swear, this game is so divisive. It's like you either love it or hate it. There is no middle ground.
There is a middle ground, which is, do you like it? I'm not sure, but I'm playing it, so there's clearly something compelling about it.
Yeah.
I played it for 30 hours or so this weekend, according to Steam, and you could still ask me if I like it, and the answer is, I'm not sure, but I played it, and I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna play it some more.
Yeah,
so,
to me, it seems like it has that gameplay loop that just kind of keeps you going, but without the other thing. It reminds me of Metal Gear Solid 5 in a lot of ways, where you're mining the resources, you're doing that, but in that game, there's more of the game.
There's a direction
This is just about that. Which, hey, if that's your thing, that's cool. What do you think of No Man's Sky possibly coming to Xbox One in the game's crazy huge launch week? Let us know in the comments.
And for more No Man's Sky news all the time, make sure you like this video and subscribe to The Know. Thanks to Casper for sponsoring this update.
You spend a third of your life in your bed, more if you play games in bed like some of us.
And hopefully you spend at least that much because you get enough sleep, right? Casper combines springy latex foam and supportive memory foam to get just the right sink and bounce, which you know you want.
Yeah, they won awards for that,
They have. It's easy to try out too. You can buy online with free delivery and returns in the US and Canada for a full 100 days. And you can get $50 towards a new mattress when you go to casper.com/theknow and use promo code TheKnow.